Alright, so today we're going to be talking about Scorpius, which is the new legendary attacker mech. Heavy energy capacity, so maxes out at 32. Instead of doing a regular gameplay video, I'm going to be ranking a few builds based on what type of weapon I think works well and doesn't work well. So, keep in mind that this is gameplay against the highest level enemies, so these are like max legendary enemies, right? So this is gameplay at the highest end, so don't pay too much attention to the specific weapon that I'm talking about, but pay more attention to the type of weapon that I'm talking about. Alright, so here on the bottom, we have the sustained damage weapons. I'm just going to get these out of the way. These are typically bad on most mechs, and the reason is because, well, you can do a lot of damage over a long period of time, or you can do a lot of damage in a split second, and obviously doing it in a split second is going to be way better. So, sustained fire weapons like beams and miniguns, and any assault rifle, assault weapon, probably not going to do very well, but they do particularly poorly on Scorpius, and here is why. The ability allows you to stay behind cover, however, the weapons have a lot of uptime, very little downtime, well, except for minigun, and require you to be outside of cover for a long period of time in order to dish out said damage, so you're not making good use of your ability. Not to mention, Scorpius's HP is on the lower end. I think it's slightly above Redox and Surge, which is the lowest of the legendary HP pools. So it is very much a low HP mech, fairly fast, and that's nice for assault weapons. However, you want more HP if you're going to get some good usability out of that. So sustained weapons are out. Alright, next up, close range weapons. Now, I can't get a super good reading on how close range weapons are going to affect, say, a early or a mid-game experience because, well, the highest energy close-range weapons that we get in the game are 12 energy, so I'm not able to use 16 energy ones, plus these fragment guns, as you can see, or even the arc torrents. They're not legendary weapons, so they're not doing the most amount of damage either. Once a legendary 16 energy close-range weapon eventually releases, will it be different? Possibly, but the problem is that when you're getting close, you're also putting yourself outside of your ability range because your ability doesn't work at point blank or like super close ranges, so anything that does lots of damage up close, you're not necessarily going to get great usage out of either your ability or your weapons, so it's not a fantastic pairing in my honest opinion. Next up we have missile weapons, being Missile Rack and Voltaic RPG. Both of these are epic weapons, so not the absolute most amount of damage that you could get, but again, we're looking at the type of weapon, which is just high amounts of burst damage, low projectile speed, so maybe not the greatest range. I think that this type of weapon works reasonably well. It has a lot of damage output and a lot of damage potential, but you're going to miss some shots. And also, just the fact that you're trying to keep yourself out of enemy fire means that you're not going to necessarily poke yourself out to fire your main weapons too often. So it's more or less used as a defense against enemies that get too close to you or that are attacking a beacon. You need some extra firepower. Now, in either case, I recommend that you use all of the weapon implants and also the ability damage implant, just to help you get some extra ability damage out. But ultimately, these are not going to be the super high damage, high kill builds that maybe you're looking for. But if you're looking for something that's a interesting mid-range kind of support type thing, then these do actually work reasonably well. Alright, next up is Disc Launcher and Nade Launcher. Now you might think I'm crazy, but not only do I not believe these are fantastic choices for Scorpius, but I actually believe that Disc Launcher in this case is worse than Nade Launcher, and I will explain to you why. See, the hitbox for Scorpius is a little bit weird, and the weapon hard points are far enough in to where if you try to corner shoot with, say, a disc launcher or a nade launcher, then you're you're going to expose a lot of your hitbox in the form of like your legs. Those are going to stick out really far and you're going to take damage. And you, as a Scorpius, cannot afford to take very much damage. So, disc launcher doesn't pair well, in my opinion, with the javelin rack type ability that Scorpius has. It forces you to get closer to corners than you probably would want to. And the same goes for nade launcher, where it forces you to find cover that is shorter or lower to the ground. It has something that you can fire your nade launchers over top, right? Because the arc of the nade launcher is not nearly as high as the arc of the javelin array ability. So you're forced to find cover that's either further to the side, or you're forced to go further to the side, or you're forced to find cover that is just shorter, overall smaller, and putting yourself in more danger than you otherwise would have to. So essentially, you are limiting your usefulness. Your ability could be used in a lot of different ways, at a lot of different places, at a lot of different times, but you're limited in terms of what your main weapons can do. And if your weapons are the limiting factor, then that's a lot of firepower that you're missing out on. That said, both of these are probably better options than the missile options. I put them just above, but they're pretty similar. They're not too bad, but they're also not great. Next up is sniper weapons, because obviously range reigns supreme in most games, let's be honest, and sniper weapons in this game are very easy to use. So if you find yourself a nice range just to fire your weapons, be it railgun, so that you can, get a little bit of extra damage when enemies are up close, and then you can also use your ability, or you could use EM rifle, where the bulk of the damage is at ranges that are further than your ability range, and then when they get closer, then you can use your ability to finish them off when your EMs aren't going to be less effective. But either way, snipers limit your exposure, they limit the amount of risks that you have to take, and you definitely kind of want that when it comes to a weak HP mech. That is, it's reasonably fast, but it's not fast enough to make good use out of close range, high damage weapons. In either case, I recommend you not worry too much about your ability range, but focus instead on ability damage and ability cooldown, so that between shots, if you are running out of ammo, since snipers have a fairly low RPM, then you're going to get more ability uses out, and they're going to deal more damage, so that you don't have to, let's say, waste a railgun shot on something and then have to wait an extra like 9 seconds for that railgun shot to reload. You don't want to have to do that. You want to be able to just fire your ability off, but get good usefulness out of it. Up next on the top are obviously the Javelin Rack and Helix Rack builds. The Javelin Rack 16 pairs slightly better with the ability in terms of how you use it. It's easier to curve Javelin Racks, same way that it's pretty easy to curve Scorpius Javelin Array. It's not as easy to curve a Helix Rack around a corner. However, Helix Rack is the better of the two weapons. It just is. It has better range, it has better reload time, it has better damage, it has a higher radius. It can fire, it fires at a higher arc, which can be difficult to make it curve around corners, but it also makes it so that it'll hit people from the top. So even if they're behind cover, whereas a Javelin Rack comes in from an angle and hits the cover, the Helix Rack will come straight on top and hit them from behind cover. So Helix Rack is the better of the two options, but in either case, I would personally say Javelin Rack, don't worry about the reload implant, because the best you can get is a rare anyway, and it's not going to do you that much good. I would say use the damage and the range for Javelin Rack, and then the damage and the range on your ability. And the reason is because the ability pairs, the ability cooldown is pretty similar to Javelin Rack cooldown, so you don't want to shorten it too much, otherwise, you kind of get out of sync. It's easier to work around a system that's like more in sync. So you fire a single Javelin Rack, and then another single Javelin Rack, and then your ability, and then another single Javelin Rack, all in sequence, and you can reliably do that. But if you're doing range on your Javelin Racks, you're also going to want range on your ability, so that you're not limiting your range by, okay, my Javelin Racks have 80-something meter range, but my ability is only 75, so I have to get closer. Thus, you're not even using your Javelin Rack range implant effectively. So if you have range on one, definitely want range on the other. Helix Rack is kind of the same deal, except that I recommend that you put the Helix Rack reload on because it does have a legendary version. Helix Racks are your main weapons, and they're going to hit fairly hard, so using all of the weapon implants is going to be a good idea. And then, in my opinion, the ability damage is going to help with that, so that you don't have to waste a full volley on a low HP enemy. And that's the ultimate goal. You want to boost your damage above your cooldown or your range when it comes to sniper weapons, or like Missile Rack, or like Helix Rack, Javelin Rack, where it fires the entire thing in one salvo, so that you don't have to waste that amount of time, that amount of reload time, killing an enemy that's, fairly low in HP, when you could just boost your damage from your ability a little bit, and then get them that way. So that's a nice way to deal with them. But yeah, I think that is about it from me. Once again, the Javelin Array ability is interesting, but it's basically just an extra Javelin Rack. So in my honest opinion, the best build for it is just more Javelin Racks, or Helix Racks, or something like that. You could probably get some decent usage out of other weapons, and, I'm not going to say that they won't work well. They probably will work decently, but it won't be necessarily ideal. It'll probably work better on a different mech entirely, so there's kind of no point in using Scorpius otherwise. If you were to use a sustained damage weapon, which I wouldn't recommend, then I would go with ability cooldown above all else, just to pump out as many abilities as possible. But yeah, otherwise, I think that is about it for me. Appreciate y'all for watching, and I will see y'all later.